Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Angie. This is Natalie. Today we're talking with Conscious Conversations in Parenting, and we're going to be talking about nighttime routines. A few episodes back, we did morning routines, and so now we're going to talk about the evening routine. Yeah, and dive into that conversation. If you're new here, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. And I'm Angie. I'm the creator of Journey to Soul. And why do I do this? I do this conscious conversations is because it's what I've always been doing. But I like to share conscious conversations. I love that we're doing this now on YouTube and sharing it, opening it to other people. Just planting seeds of different ideas as we're all awakening and we're all trying to do different things as parents, right? And some of us are really trying to go against the grain. And there's no playbook for going against the grain. And so I think conscious conversations are really important. And I think Natalie would agree, and Julie, who usually is with us. We help each other get perspective. We help each other explore how we're parenting. And we're not here to shame anybody. We're here to have real conversations about the challenges that we face and the decisions and the approaches that we're trying to take. If you keep it to yourself, it's harder to gain new perspectives. And so I think these conversations are
Definitely.
important. And I mean, I'm just a spirit having human experience, right? And I'm a mom, I'm married, and I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, and it's very challenging sometimes. They're little mirrors of me, and that can be really hard when you're parenting, trying to make new decisions. So that's me in a nutshell. I'll let Natalie introduce herself to you before we get started.
Thank you. Hey guys, my name is Natalie. Very similar to Angie. I have a husband and two kids. Um, I'm still having this pretty amazing and sometimes overwhelming human experience. But I mean, that's why we dropped in, right? Is to
Yeah.
experience the whole plethora of human emotions, not just the good ones, and not just the bad ones either, right? Like a mix and finding that balance. And this is what Angie and I often share with you guys is how to find that middle ground, how to find that balance, how to find the humor, and also just sharing tools with you that'll help you, in your awakening experience. And I'm sure you've experienced this, Angie, as I have been I've noticed, especially in like past experiences, as I'm awakening and becoming more consciously aware, there's um I witnessed different changes in my family, right? And sometimes they're good, and sometimes it's like we're on like the pothole part of the journey because we as mothers are shifting. And when you shift and you're living with other humans, they're just propelled to shift as well. But maybe they're doing it unconsciously, right? So they don't have maybe that deeper level of awareness that you do, which that's why sometimes it feels like you're driving down like pothole Main Street, or the shit hits the fan. That's why it's just that accelerated awareness, which is why I really love having these conversations with everyone and sharing these tools that can easily be applied and can really be helpful in that
Yes.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah, because often it's like I wish I had that tool, you know? Like I can think of past experiences where it's like I learned things in our conscious conversations and I'm like, damn, I wish I had that tool when she was little,
Hmm.
for that time. And that's why we share it. Because if
Yeah.
one of these little tools can help you, then we've done our job,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, thank you, Natalie. So nighttime routines, evening routines. I'm gonna let you take it away because you have a really good segue into why it's important, I think, to have evening
Mm.
routines.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, let's start with that. Why evening routines are so important. And so, disclaimer, we're not actually going to talk about nighttime routines or evening routines with your kids because you can Google that and have like a cajillion different answers. I mean, this is conscious conversations. This is to help moms. We're going to talk about evening routines that can help you, okay, in that moment. Um, so, one of the really important reasons for evening routines or nighttime routines, however you want to call it, is the frequency that you fall asleep to is the frequency that you're going to wake up in. Okay. And so if we're setting ourselves up for success, if we're helping ourselves feel that little bit better as we're falling asleep, when you wake up, well, you're going to be at that same level of, hey, I feel a little bit better. And when you feel a little bit better in the morning every day, well, guess what? It builds up and builds up and builds up until one day when you wake up and you're like, one day you wake up and everything's changed, right? And that was a promise I made to myself when I really like got a big like awakening, skull cracking, not literally, but skull cracking moment. I told myself, one day I'm going to wake up and everything is going to be different. And the evening routine I've applied for so long, and it has really, I think that's one of the things that has made the most powerful impact in my journey so far.
That's amazing. And do you see that's like, gosh, that's amazing. Do you see how it like one little change, you know what I mean? A little change, and declaring is really important. How we can own these things. Like we can own our transformation. And when you own your transformation and start to apply even just one little thing, that's a powerful combination, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Self
that's you just gave an
responsibility,
example of
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
self-responsibility.
stepping into your power.
Yeah. That's it. All it takes is claiming your power and taking an
Yeah.
action.
Yeah. Because you claim it, well, you've claimed it, right?
Yeah. And then believing that a little action is enough. That's like we talk about this a
Mm-hmm.
lot. A little action is enough. What is one thing, what like number one, like assess, are you going to bed? What frequency are you going to bed at right now? And how are you feeling in the morning? Look at that in your own
Yeah.
life, assess that, not judge it. I'm not telling you to assess it to judge it. I'm telling you to assess it to be aware, to become aware, because then you can
Yeah.
make a shift, right? And then can you take a small thing and do it for yourself before you go to bed? And that can be as simple as writing 3 things you're grateful for from the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to bed thinking about 3 things you're grateful for. They don't even have to be big things. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for the coffee that I had. I'm grateful that, I have electricity. I'm grateful the kids are
Yeah.
sleeping. I'm grateful that I didn't put I don't put the kids tonight, like to bed tonight. Like I'm grateful for that. I'm gonna have this time. So I think that's so important what you said though. Um, and that I feel is like the biggest takeaway today, you know? Do you wanna wake up? And you're also bringing that frequency into your dreams too, I feel.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that say like, when we sleep, this is where our consciousness travels, it travels or,
Yeah.
your unconscious unpacks also in your dreams, right? Unpacks feelings
Definitely
and
does.
emotions and energy that you need to move. And so this happens in your
Mhm.
dreams and so just imagine if you go to bed in a frequency of gratitude, what kind of dreams that might bring back for you.
Yeah. And as you're
And
unpacking, again, all that extra stuff, if you're in a frequency that feels lighter, well, that's going to feel lighter too. You're not going to, maybe this will dispel a lot of nightmares.
mhm,
When you wake, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, like you feel like, something bad happened or whatever. But maybe that's just because it's sludgier to unpack all these things if we're going to bed angry, worried, right? As opposed to going to bed just feeling pleasant, right? Doesn't have
yeah,
to be anything like over the top, like I love life. It could just be like I'm good. I'm good. And then it makes that unconscious unpacking a
yeah,
lot smoother, right?
I
There's less
believe
crap
so.
to get through.
Yeah, I believe so. And we can have a bad day, like we can have a bad day. We can have all kinds of bad things happen. And I like what you just said there. It's like, I'm good. I'm good right now. Like, maybe it's even having a routine where you just check in with yourself and you're like, okay, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm safe. I'm good
Hmm.
right now, and by myself in this moment. And even if you sleep with somebody, but in this moment, I'm here by myself doing this. Get present with yourself
Yeah.
to remember that you're good because you can't change what happened through the day, but you can certainly prepare yourself to have a good start into your next day.
I have so many tools I want to share because bedtime routine's my jam. Um,
Yeah, share them.
so yeah, I'm actually going to touch on something that you just said that you can't change what had happened during the day. Um, so you actually can. And one of the tools that I do once in a while, not often, is reviewing your day. And Neville Goddard talks about this a lot. If any of you know me, you know I'm big on Neville. So you take a situation that happened during the day. Um, so let's say, I don't know, kid spills the carton of milk on the table and you're like, ah, what the fuck? And you freak out, even though maybe you didn't want to freak out. And you kind of derailed from there. Let's take that as an example. So before you go to sleep, you go into that memory, but you don't judge it or whatever. You're just, again, watching it like a witness or like watching it like a TV show. And then you play it the way that you wanted it to actually go. So maybe, um, maybe the kid did wind up spilling the glass of milk, but then your response was different. It's like, oh, it's okay. Look, like I just folded all these towels. Let's, perfect timing. Let's clean up the milk, right? And then you clean it up together, and then you keep it short, right? So maybe that's just the reel that you're rehearsing, like last episode of. So just do that a few times, okay? I mean, it doesn't have to take long. It's like a 20-second reel, and you do it a few times. And then what you're actually doing is you're actually reprogramming your memory of that event.
Mm.
Of you didn't lose your shit when the glass of milk got knocked over. Divinity stepped in. You had a pile of towels that you just folded, right, from the laundry. You walked in, glass of milk was spilled. You're like, oh, well, here, you take some, I'll take some. You clean up the table, I'll clean up the floor. Boom. You're repeating that over and over and over. So you're reprogramming the memory. You're actually rewriting the memory, and then you feel better, right?
Yeah.
So then even just that one exercise at night can do absolute wonders,
Yeah, that's beautiful,
because just
actually.
that feeling of, oh, like everything was divine or it all worked out, right? Even like some
And
humor of like, oh, what are the odds, right? Like, of course, I walk in towels and we had to use them, right
thank you,
away. So
universe. Yeah.
that lighthearted, yeah, yeah. So then you're going to sleep with that lightheartedness,
Yeah,
right?
that's really great. That's a really good transmutation like technique, eh? And I mean,
Yeah,
ultimately everything's happening in the present moment anyway. So I mean,
yeah,
that's a whole
yeah.
nother conversation, guys. You can go deep with us one day. But ultimately that makes total sense then. You rewrite it because what matters is the present moment anyway, right? Doesn't matter what happened through the day. So you
Yeah,
can take anything that happened. That's really great. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's
of
powerful,
course,
guys.
yeah,
So you can rewrite it. And instead of like what we were talking about in last episode, right? Instead of ruminating and
yeah,
perpetuating that event that happened, that situation that happened, rewrite it. Rewrite it before you go to
yeah.
bed.
Yeah. And try it out, man. Try it out because
Mm.
this works. Like I've done this so many times and I've had like amazing results. So just
Amazing.
just do it. Again, it's not complicated, right? You're just playing the scene over and over and over again. And then hell, you may even fall asleep to it. That's totally fine too, right? I'm not saying like count each time. Okay, I've done it once, I've done it twice. Badly said to do it 10 times. Don't do that. It's just a reel, right?
Yeah.
Like one of those like shorts, right?
Yeah.
On YouTube, just those
Yeah.
shorts that keep it
You're just
keeps
creating
replaying.
your own little
Yeah, and if you
shorts.
fall asleep to it, that's even freaking better.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm gonna try that on my next, like, especially when I have a heavy day. Like, again, see, this is what I'm talking about. I said this in the beginning. Like, this is why we do this, because I'm like, oh damn, if I had that technique 2 days ago,
Yeah.
it's
But
like,
just apply it now, because
yeah, yes, I
that's
can
what
change.
really
Yeah,
matters is now.
the now moment
Yeah.
is what matters. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's where your
Because
power
when you
is.
Yeah, yeah, because when you keep applying it now, when you're focused on now,
Yeah,
then you're rewriting all the other now moments,
it
right?
never
Because the only
happened.
thing that ever exists is right now.
Yeah,
But before we go down that rabbit hole,
I know. But now, oh, I love that you said that. Now I've forgotten what I wanted to say, but oh, Julie's joining us, coming in just for night routines. Hello, Julie. Hi,
Hello.
Julie.
hi
Hi. Thank you
Julie.
for allowing me to join late.
Of course, you're in with nighttime routines. We're talking about evening routines. And Natalie shared a really cool technique with us about rewriting, basically rewriting the story of what happened in your day. And before you go to bed, this is a really powerful technique, right? To rewrite the story. What did you call it? Like a reel. Play this little reel of like
Yeah,
what happened.
yeah, yeah, exactly, like a reel or a short. And because we were talking, Julie, just to catch you up, I was telling everybody that the frequency that you fall asleep to at night is the frequency that you wake up in. And actually, Abraham is big on teaching this. And it's true. I've experienced it so often where, um, maybe before you would fall asleep, um, and often people fall asleep and they're like, oh, like this happened at work and the kids did this and the kitchen's a freaking mess. This is what I'm going to wake up to in the morning. Like that feels really low and sludgy, right? As opposed to just even picturing someone tidying up the kitchen, right? Or even picturing, you waking up in the morning and the counter's clean in the kitchen, right? And just replaying that reel. Somewhat a little bit different than what we were talking about a few minutes ago, but same concept, right? Um, your the intention should always be going to bed feeling as bringing as high of a frequency as you can as you're going to bed, and your nighttime routine should reflect that, right?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I haven't heard that before, so I really like that.
I know. I was so excited
Yeah.
by it too. I'm like, oh, I could have used this 2 days ago. Like I can't wait to
Yeah.
play with it. It's a really great technique. And then we were talking about like there is only now, the present moment. That's, so it doesn't matter what happened. And you're right. Like how many times we go to sleep, oh, I lost it, I feel bad I did this or like, oh, I wish I handled this better, today, whatever.
Right.
And
All of those thoughts just reeling in our head of, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
yeah, until we fall asleep.
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
the big takeaway is to realize, are you realizing that it's affecting you and you're taking it into your sleep, you're taking it into your next day, And so I don't know. You just like, I don't know, I feel like you like drop mic drop. Like I have nothing else. Nothing else on night routines now.
I love it. What a
Okay,
huge
well, why
enlightenment.
don't we brainstorm together? The three of us, what are things that you ladies think, even a little thing, that would make you feel better going to sleep, right? And it doesn't have to be like amazing joy, like, I'm holding the world in the palm of my hands kind of thing, but just feeling a little bit better, right?
So, part of my favorite and best nighttime routine has been listening to myself, my own affirmations. So I've recorded them on my phone to make it nice and simple. It's a no-brainer. But actually, I haven't done it in a long time because I have now given that phone to my son. And I did email them to myself, but it's just not as simple as opening up, you know, the app right from the phone. So I've fallen behind on that, and I've promised to re-record them for many, many months now, and I have not, but I'm just preparing to make some new affirmations. So that's really simple, quick and simple. And it always made me feel wonderful going to sleep. And I love that you mentioned how it sets the tone for waking up, because it did. When I would wake up, I felt excited for for the day. Like I always felt excited to care for myself, like literally excited to brush my teeth and my hair, like, and I'd never felt that way before. So I love that you connected those dots for me of like, oh, it was because I was setting that tone and that frequency as I was going to sleep. When it comes to the kids though, so if we're relating this to nighttime routine with the kids, some of my favorite things to do was to just play frequency music. So the love frequency, as we were, laying down or talking or just during our quiet time, because a lot of our nighttime routine would be, okay, of the usual, let's brush and floss, let's get our pajamas on. And then we did reading time. I have them read to me and then I read to them. And then we have talking time, and I would either put the frequency music on during our talking time, or I would wait until it was quiet time. So, and I set timers, me, like I'm huge on timers with everything, and especially with regular routines. So we have a set amount of time to do each thing. But the frequency music really helped them and myself all just settle into a really nice, peaceful, relaxing sleep. And when it came to talking time, I know as our kids get older, a lot of the time it can be challenging to get information out of them or, have them willingly. Well, I've heard this anyway. My kids love to talk, and it's probably partly because I love to talk and because I've fostered these talking times with them as well growing. So what we started with, the way I started this was best and worst. What was your best and worst of the day? So, and I've heard it called brag and drag, and a couple other names. So a lot of the time, the talking time would be what was your best and worst of the day, or just a recap of the day, what did you do today? So those were all like, it's a bunch of things in a routine, but I think the frequency music really makes a big difference all together for how they go to sleep, how we go to sleep, and then how we wake up. And I always choose love because that's just my favorite.
It's funny. I was thinking that like frequency music is something I do. That is something. So I was trying to think when you asked that, Natalie, I was trying to think, okay, especially when I'm in that low vibe energy before bed, what are some of the things I do then to not go to bed that way? So frequency music is one of them. And I often go to the love one when it's not specific. You know what I mean? I'm just feeling heavy. I'll go to the love one. A little while ago, I actually went to the soul chakra one, which was really interesting. And it was because I was doing a lot of calling in higher energies into my body, inviting it in. And then I felt called to do this soul chakra music. And, I had such a bad headache in the morning, and it's really interesting. But I was excited. I don't know how to explain this. Like normally, if I wake up with a headache, I would be upset. But because of the intention I went into bed with and doing this, I ended up waking up excited. I had a headache and I was excited about it. I wouldn't say I was excited about it, but I was actually like, oh my gosh, like I think that music is the reason that I have this headache, and a lot has unfolded from it. So that was really interesting. But anyway, typically
your perception of it, right? But look, even this is a great example. Your perception of your headache, of that physical sensation, changed from within like 10 to 12 hours, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Incredible.
And I was able to last I went the whole day with this headache, like taking care of myself. Julie, you might remember I told them like, I'm going to take care of myself today. Everything is off the books. I'm just taking care of myself all day to move through this. And it's because of my perception of the headache. It wasn't a bother. It was, there's transmuting happening. There's something going on here, but that's interesting. Wow, thanks for that mirror, that reflection. Yeah, Julie, you'll find out about that. We'll talk about it after. But anyway,
Right.
another thing that I do, so I do the gratitude. That's something I do. Just if I'm feeling heavy, I don't want to go to sleep like that. I'll just be like, okay, there's things I'm grateful for. What am I grateful for? And often one of the things I will name as being grateful for will be the challenge I had, knowing that there's a lesson coming out of the challenge that I had, and I'll usually include that. And I feel that helps me. Another thing that came to me as you were talking, Julie, our last episode, we were talking about what would you like, how do you want to feel at the end? So that's something I was thinking I could do with the kids too, the girls and myself at nighttime, is ask myself, how do I want to feel in the morning? You know, and just ask yourself that, because an answer will come, and it won't necessarily be the same answer all the time. And so if you go to bed with that intention, that's how I want to feel in the morning. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be fun if you woke up and you felt that way?
Absolutely.
And this is like we were talking about at last episode. Play with it. Play with it, guys. Wouldn't it be fun if I felt peaceful in the morning?
Yeah, definitely.
Or wake up well rested, right?
Or feel well rested.
Because a lot of people, and that's such a programming of like people, oh, in the morning, someone saying, oh, I'm so tired, or I didn't, I went to bed too late, or, I never sleep well, or I'm so tired, feels like I didn't sleep. Like listen to yourself talking, right? Maybe even a simple intention of like, don't even look at the clock. Don't even think of like, oh my God, I'm only getting 5 hours of sleep tonight. You're like, when I wake up in the morning, this body's going to feel rejuvenated. This body's going to feel very rested.
Yeah, you just reminded me something I often pray for people and myself is that they feel refreshed and energized when they wake up. Like I'll say that often to people.
Yeah.
And for myself, that's how I want to feel when I wake up, refreshed and energized. I don't want to feel, tired and groggy. And you also reminded me that there have been many times I've always been a sleeper. Like I love my sleep and like 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I love my sleep. But there have been times in my life, and a lot of the time, it has to do with a lot of self-care and re-energizing. And Angie and I have talked about this many times, where we're getting way less sleep, but we're feeling way more energized, like just refreshed and energized and ready to go. Getting like 5 hours of sleep, or sometimes even less. And we've been amazed at that many, many times. And I think a lot of it has to do with the self-care, right? Because I often talk about ourselves as, if we can think of ourselves as batteries, because we are energy, and we're either recharging our energy or we're draining our energy. The more we can spend time recharging our batteries, the less rest we actually need. And I think that's what would be occurring in those times. And definitely having a energizing bedtime routine, listening to that music. And as you said, I absolutely love that you shared that information with us about the frequency and the energy that we're going to sleep with, we're waking up with. It's, as I'm thinking about it, it's so true, because as I said, I would have these healthy, energizing routines, getting so much less sleep than I usually would, and waking up feeling refreshed and feeling energized and ready to go and excited for the day, rather than feeling like, oh, I need, 5 more hours of sleep. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I just said that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was actually going to recap something that you had said, Angie, at the beginning to Julie. So Angie was sharing with us how, when you often there's studies that show, when we're dreaming, it's actually kind of like unclogging, like getting rid of the junk in our unconscious. So we kind of tied those two ideas together, those two theories together of, when you go to sleep in a frequency that's maybe lower, or like a lower feeling vibe, then maybe that's why we're waking up also like, ugh, right? Because our body's trying to purge all this extra junk in our mind that we don't need, but it's having to go through all like this sludgy, like lower feeling vibes, as opposed to going to bed feeling fine, right? Like I'm okay, I'm feeling fine. And it doesn't necessarily have to be over the top, but when we're falling asleep in those higher frequencies, it's just easier for that junk, that filter, to get out of our minds, right?
That
So
makes so
again, that's
much
a great
sense.
that you brought up of,
The
like you wake up and
battery.
you're like, oh crap, I
Yeah, it's like your
have to use like
battery's
5 hours of
draining
more
at
sleep.
night while you're sleeping.
Right. Like it's
Instead
working
of
overtime.
energizing, it's actually draining instead of, restoring your body.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you just reminded me too. I decided to pick a frequency I hadn't picked before, and I told Angie and Yelena about this. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this frequency. I had been listening to one frequency, and I'm like, I'm gonna switch it up. And it was like some 10,000 or something like that. And I'm like, okay, this is odd. I'm just gonna try this. And I had two or three like horrible dreams. They were like dreadful, dreadful dreams. I was like, okay, no more of that frequency. So it's probably a good idea to listen to the frequency a little while before and make sure you enjoy the feeling and the frequency of it. I had never listened to it. I'm like, I'll just put it on and go to sleep. Well, it wasn't a good choice for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good that you bring that up, because definitely if you're listening to frequency music before you go to sleep, or if you're like me and you fall asleep to sleep meditations, make sure you trust the source.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Make sure you trust the source, that you're comfortable with it, that you like their material. I mean, I love the Reality Revolution. That's often what I'll use for my sleep meditation. But yeah, it's really interesting how like I'll usually pick one sleep meditation. I'll do it for like a month straight ish, right? And it's interesting how even the dreams change. Um, and then like sometimes woke up in the morning and I'm like, whoa, like that was like a really intense dream. It had to do with um my husband and everything. And I'm like, oh, but this is me, like like expunging out all this. But that's also a very simple thing to do. You don't have to plan it out, right? It's like listening to frequency music or meditations before you go to bed. It doesn't take that much effort, especially if it's a sleep meditation. It takes like no effort at all. I have like a wireless like headband with headphones. I just fall asleep to it, right? So again, these nighttime routines to get us into a higher frequency doesn't have to be over the top or complicated. It could just be one little thing, whether that's rewriting an event in your day or just listening to some beautiful music while you're brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Absolutely. And
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say something dropped in, and I feel like maybe I need to say it because maybe somebody needs to hear it out there. If you fall asleep to things like TV, this is coming through as you're talking about trust the source. Like, my mother-in-law falls asleep to the TV all the time, and she has horrible sleeps and wakes up, always grumpy about her sleep. And I was like, oh, but you're falling asleep to TV all the time, and I think a lot of people do that. And I'm going to invite you, if you do that, there's no judgment, okay, guys? But if you do that, I'm going to invite you to try something different. Try frequency music. Try one of these techniques, right? And see if that shifts your sleep. Because I know there's so many people with so many sleep problems and they have a hard time sleeping. And I really think that this could be a big game changer for a lot of people that have sleep issues.
Yeah, I love that. It was actually something that dropped in for me too that I thought I needed to share as well. But before I do that, I was going to say, or even possibly find something on the TV, like even if you can find, something positive, something different than what you're used to, even if you're really reluctant to switch that TV off, try something more positive, something more peaceful.
Yeah,
that
be
you know is gonna
aware.
peaceful,
Yeah, be aware of what it's on.
of what it is that you're falling asleep to. Absolutely. And a lot of a lot of the time you could probably even find some peaceful music or something like that as well. But the other thing I was going to mention was something I've heard is useful, and I don't think I've ever actually tried it myself, but I've heard a lot of people mention it. If you are having those reoccurring thoughts and all the woulda, shoulda, couldas, write them out just to get them out of your head, before you lay down, and then possibly put on the peaceful music or something calming for yourself, to try and stop those thoughts, but getting them out, being productive with them and getting them out of your system before laying down, because I know those can be definitely challenging. I've had those challenges in the past myself.
Yeah. Journaling is a great tool. Even writing it down, you don't have to journal like dear journal, just make a list. Be like, this is what, just write it out, and it just decreases some of that energy, right?
And as Angie
so
mentioned
instead
too,
of falling
then do a
asleep
little
at the
gratitude.
peak of 98%, maybe it's 70%, which, hey, that's a huge difference, right?
Right.
It's going to make a difference in your sleep and waking up.
And then if you'd like to finish off with doing a little bit of gratitude, like Angie had mentioned as well, get those thoughts out and then write a couple things that you're grateful for. Oftentimes I'm grateful for my pillow, my comfortable bed, the sunshine, the moon, being able to breathe, all those things. There's so many things we can be grateful for. When we really look, like a flushing toilet, the fact that the garbage is taken away for us,
right?
the ability to recycle, whatever it may be, having a vehicle, having health in our family. There's so many things that we can choose to be grateful for. So if we can get some of those reoccurring challenging thoughts out of our head and then switch to feeling grateful, even if we're not going to put on the music or whatever, right? Just to try and get into a more peaceful, relaxed state and energy, so we can wake up with that wonderful energy like Natalie mentioned. I'm so going to utilize that.
I know. So great. So great. Like, so many great tools, so many great thoughts to really be aware of. I think a lot of great awarenesses were brought up here. So yeah, I think this was such a great conversation. I'm so glad you were able to join us too, Julie. And
me too. Oh my goodness. It was pretty, I completely forgot, totally lost track of time, had my phone upstairs. It was wild. And then I came upstairs and I saw your message. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Gosh.
And then I asked if I could join, and I'm like, she's not even going to see this. I'm just going to try and join. If she lets me in, she lets me in.
I love that. I love that you did. I love that you did.
I'm so grateful that I could be here, at least for this portion.
Yeah.
I learned a lot and I'm really excited already.
Yeah, me too. I learned so much. Like, this was really great. Thanks, Natalie. You gave us some big transformational thinking there.
Yes.
Of course, thank you.
So thank you. So I hope everybody who tunes into this, I hope you realize it doesn't have to be big. Like, just a little tweak to increase your frequency, increase your vibration before you go into sleep, right? It doesn't have to be big. I really want you to think about that. Anybody have any invitations that you want to share with them before I close off?
My invitation would be bringing it back to children, using timers. And because it gives everyone a clear amount of time to do something. I know bedtime routines can end up taking like this much time. It feels like, it's forever. So the timer really lets everybody know, okay, this is the amount of time we have for this. So, it's time to put your pajamas on and brush your teeth. You have 5 minutes or you have 10 minutes. If you're going to do some reading, like I love to read to my kids and get them to read to me, I let them know, okay, I'm going to read for 8 minutes right now. We want to have a little talking time. We're going to talk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And it really decompresses everything rather than letting it drag out forever. So that would be my invitation, to use a timer and put on that peaceful music.
Yeah, it works. You taught me that, and I use that too. It works all the time. Yeah, thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Natalie, did you have anything?
Just wanted to reiterate what you said, Angie. It's not about go big or go home, guys. Let's flush that mentality down the toilet. Again, just pick one thing. Like how do you want to feel in the morning, right? And just apply one little thing, and yeah, just go to sleep feeling that much better. And again, it takes practice. Just keep doing it. Don't give up on yourself. Keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yes. Choose and choose
And then one
again.
day, like I said, like halfway through, one day you're gonna wake up and everything's gonna be different.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I love how you started with that
Yeah.
too. Now we're ending with that. Great words to end on. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Julie and Natalie. Yeah, if you want to find out more about us and find us in different spaces, check the description box below. If you like this video, please like it and share it. Share it with somebody else that could benefit from it. And subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified every time we well, my internet connection's unstable. But you'll get notified every time that we go live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, and that's that. We'll see you next episode. And thank you so much for being here with us.